a senior journalist specializing in international relations, wrote an opinion piece for Deccan Herald. The piece discusses the recent strained relationship between India and the United States, which has escalated following comments made by former US President Barack Obama regarding the rights of Muslims in India. The author asserts that while both sides may share some responsibility, the Modi government is not serving its own interests, or those of India, by departing from the country's traditional diplomatic practice of addressing frustrations with friends in private, rather than publicly. The article also mentions instances where the Indian government has engaged in aggressive rhetoric with critics and friendly nations, drawing comparisons to China's assertive foreign policy. The author suggests that by blurring the line of democratic principles and free speech, the Modi government is damaging India's global standing. The author highlights that what was expected to be a high point in the bilateral ties has turned into a situation of anger, name-calling, and public shaming. The author criticizes the Modi government for its response to remarks made by former US President Barack Obama regarding the rights of Muslims in India. Obama's suggestion for President Joe Biden to address this issue sparked confrontations and drew the ire of leaders from India's governing party. The author mentioned that Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman pointed to the countries bombed by the US under Obama as a way to deflect allegations of majoritarianism. Defense Minister Rajnath Singh also engaged in confrontational language by calling out Obama and reminding him of the countries his administration bombed. Additionally, the author discusses how members of the ruling BJP and trolls targeted Sabrina Siddiqui, a Wall Street Journal correspondent of mixed Indian-Pakistani heritage, who asked a question about Modi's human rights record during a press conference with Biden. The White House defended Siddiqui and condemned the attempts by Modi's party members to attack her, emphasizing that it was the Biden administration that had insisted on the press conference. Moreover, the author argues that India's recent aggressive approach, which they refer to as wolf diplomacy, towards the United States, is having negative consequences. The author contends that this calculation has backfired. The author's implication may be that India should choose to remain silent in the face of criticisms or invalid and inaccurate comments from critics in the West. This implication arises from the possibility that the author believes, or possesses information indicating that India is subject to control by the Western countries or its media, and its critics. However, it is important to note that the author overlooked or may have forgotten to mention the issue of Islamophobia, prevalent in many European countries. In Europe, the Islamophobia is at its worst. A Muslim lifestyle is subjected to interrogating eyes, comments and sometimes even harsh reactions. After the incident of September 2001 in the United States, the image of Muslims and Islam has taken a pounding all over the world. Many people around the world attached a label of terrorism with the name of Muslims. This is one reason that in many countries, Muslims are still seen as some alien creatures. But not only terrorism, but there are other aspects of human life which are always questioned by non-Muslims. There are countries which are known for stereotyping Muslims and their daily dealings with the world. Some religious groups exercise extreme hatred for Muslims in the form of Muslim genocides and right abandonment. Numerous news outlets have extensively covered the alarming presence and escalating growth of Islamophobia within these countries. This term refers to the deep-seated fear, prejudiced attitudes, and discriminatory behaviors exhibited towards Muslims. The coverage has shed light on various incidents and documented actions taken by several nations, which specifically targeted Muslims and contributed to the perpetuation of anti-Muslim racism. Some notable examples of such incidents include China's denial of evidence pointing to the mistreatment of Uyghur Muslims, and an international tribunal held in the UK to address the issue. In Canada, a Muslim family was killed in a targeted hit-and-run incident, leading to calls for the government to address Islamophobic violence. Switzerland approved a ban on the burqa, joining other countries in restricting Muslim women's religious freedom. France and Austria implemented policies that discriminated against Muslims. President Macron introduced the anti-separatism law, limiting the rights of French Muslims and imposing loyalty oaths on religious leaders. The law targets the political, social and intellectual aspects of Islam, ensuring precedence to France's republican values, limiting Islam to only the religious sphere. While the UK failed to address institutional Islamophobia within its ranks, despite its claim to have a zero-tolerance approach towards discrimination. Austrian academic Ferhat Hafez, who himself experienced government intimidation, highlighted the continent's rightward shift towards viewing Muslims as potential threats. Austria specifically conducted Operation Luxor in 2020, involving raids on the homes of activists and academics from the Austrian Muslim community, but no charges were filed. The Austrian government also introduced measures, like a registry of Muslim imams, and an Islam map, which significantly curtailed civil liberties, and led to increased anti-Muslim attacks. The Council of Europe called for the withdrawal of the map, but it was briefly taken down, and then made public again. Despite the biased actions of these nations, their actions often go unquestioned. This trend portrays Europe's Muslims as security and cultural threats, justifying discriminatory rhetoric and practices that violate their basic rights. These examples highlight the urgent need for awareness, dialogue, and concrete actions to counter Islamophobia and protect the rights and well-being of Muslims in Europe. It is crucial for governments, civil society organizations, and individuals to actively work towards fostering inclusivity, understanding, and respect, thus challenging the harmful narratives and prejudices that fuel discrimination against Muslims. It is unjust and incorrect to generalize and treat the entire Muslim community as aliens or perpetuate stereotypes due to the actions of a few terrorists. It is crucial to acknowledge that terrorism should not serve as a justification for treating Muslims as alien beings. Furthermore, singling out a particular country or its leaders solely based on their religious beliefs, such as in the case of a Hindu leader in India, is unfair and unjust. It is important for prominent figures like Barack Obama to raise questions about these countries' behaviors. It is crucial to move beyond religious biases and evaluate actions and policies objectively, without unfairly targeting individuals based on their faith. The Modi government in India is striving to protect the country from three types of enemies. Firstly, neighboring countries such as China and Pakistan. Secondly, internal threats. And lastly, the wealthy and influential groups worldwide that fuel violence in the name of religion and language. The question that naturally arises here is the Modi government truly causing damage to India's global reputation, or should India assertively address these criticisms and effectively respond to those who are attempting to incite violence and disturb peace within the country?